Resign, resign. Kudos to the police. The police and this man here. The head of security told me that Sophie was in the Parliament building, so I had to take her to Babu. I sort of lied, telling security that grandfather was expecting me. I hopped in the car, and after we got there, it was too late for them to object. We struggled to make our way into the chancellery, and pulling me out of there promised to be a different story altogether. As usual, she was filled with restless curiosity, bugging me to tell her what was going on. I replied, "Sophie, I can't tell you anything. Let's go upstairs, and all your questions will be answered." It would be wrong if she learned anything from me. I took her upstairs. She entered Babu's office and spent some time there. Then she came out, turned her camera on, and dove into action. We made sure she was next to the president, surrounded by security guards, because she was moving around with her camera, not shying away from jumping into the epicenter. She, just like Babu, exuded courage. She never turned the camera off. I always had this internal conflict. Well, some people don't like my grandfather, and what if someone has had a bad experience with him? Who likes him? And why is this revolution taking place? If he is good, what's with all these people out there demanding his resignation? In a nutshell, all my questions about him were answered over those couple days. I saw a big personality, and what mattered to me most was that I saw him plead with the demonstrators to break up, and how it never crossed his mind, not for a second, to use force. It's not just my memories. I have it all documented on tape. He never considered, not even for a split second, to use force to break up the rally. They could easily pinpoint my Achilles heel. They had said it themselves. By the way, that Shevardnadze will never allow bloodshed. They knew it was my weakness. Well, weakness or strength, that remains debatable. Still, it's strength, I think. I don't think it's a weakness when someone in power refrains from using force to remain in power. I think it was his strong point. Use of force should be a last resort, only when the country is facing an imminent danger. But this was not the case back then, and it would be absolutely unjustifiable for him to use force. But we also know that there were some who not only pushed, but also set the stage for it. When, on the night of the revolution, it was suggested that I make a statement that Shevardnadze no longer controlled the situation and that the army had sided with the revolution, I chose to do what I did. It was totally unacceptable for me to make such a statement. The fact itself that power was not on the top of his list, eclipsed beyond compare by other, far more important values. That was a major thing for me to learn, appreciate, and take in. After that, whatever someone said about my grandfather did not matter anymore, because I had formed a strong opinion. I saw with my own eyes what he was going through, and I heard his statements. Since you refuse to use force, maybe we should bring in fire trucks and use water cannons to break them up. No, the kids may catch cold. Yet the same kids were chanting outside, "Down with Satan." There would be casualties. I could not do it. Not because I wanted to be remembered in history as a nice person who never used force. No, they were my sons, my children. Even though they did not like me and stood up against me, they were still my children. How could I do otherwise? Treating people as kindly as he did, even those who stood up against and hated him, is unimaginable unless you have true love of your homeland and people in your heart. Not a single gunshot fired, not even the slightest resistance. As soon as he arrived, the crowd made way for him. Now this is a bloodless revolution. What are you planning to do today, Mr. Saakashvili? We want Shevardnadze to resign today. He has an airplane ready to fly off and leave us alone. I remember it all very well. We were stationed near the Youth Palace, and demonstrators from Achara were holding a rally in front of the parliament. A massive rally, with police standing between the sides. I remember the size of the crowd. Also 400 police officers lined up on either side. For like 3 or 4 hours, we were able to keep things in order. But then the crowd broke through the police cordon, and that's when I thought we'd better brace ourselves. As the first parliamentary session opens, with newly elected MPs gathering, the old parliament is stripped of its authority. That's what the Constitution reads. The session started. The hymn was performed, and that's when it was possible to declare the session closed, right away, to avoid all that breaking in and sabotaging, and to ensure that the parliament had a totally different legal status. Was there enough time? Yes, there was. Guess what? Having the Mandate Commission approve the authority of the MPs would be the final touch. This 10-15-minute procedure would seal the deal. But that never happened. There was only Shevardnadze's report, a mistake in my opinion. First, the session's opening dragged out, 30 minutes. Then they put Shevardnadze in an awkward position by rescheduling his speech. Who decided to have him speak first? There must have been a serious reason lying in his report, right? But that gave the other side enough time to gather and march in an organized manner.
ბოლო მომენტამდე, ხანდახან გახმოვანდებოდა ხოლმე მისი გადადგომის მოთხოვნა, ეს ბუნებრივია ახლა როდეს.
Yes, occasional demands of resignation could be heard here and there, which only makes sense when you're dealing with revolutionary sentiments. But I repeat that our goal was not to force Shevardnadze to resign, especially since a presidential election was about to be held in a matter of months, in April. His resignation was the last thing we wanted. Now, the parliament was a different story. I still believe that, given the way things were unfolding, there was no other option, and it was the only right option to enter the parliament and demand the termination of its authority. Our goal was to keep the crowd at bay without endangering people's lives and health. Let these people through. They're peaceful citizens. Are you calling this peaceful? Yes, of course. All I'm asking is to let these people through. Don't get in my face with your hands. No, I won't lower my hands. I'm a peaceful demonstrator. Let the MPs pass. Let them through. These are peaceful people. Keep calm. Maintain peace.
ოცნებობდნენ იმაზეც, რომ იქნებ ვინმე გარდაცვლილიყო ამ შეტაკებებში ან დაპირისპირებაში პოლიციისა და
There were individuals eager to see people die in possible clashes, in a confrontation with the police. Honestly, that was my worst fear. A provocation with someone dying in their hands so that they could point the finger at the authorities. This was their goal, if you want to know the truth. The Interior Ministry had its own functions to fulfill. The State Security Service, a different purpose, namely securing the perimeter. If someone, especially a violent armed person, broke inside the perimeter, different agencies were obligated to take action. But thank God that didn't happen, because it would have been presented in a totally different light. They even opened the door to them, encountering no resistance, but they just burst in.
მე სიმართლე გითხრათ, გათვალისწინებით იმისა, რომ ვიცოდი როგორ მოქმედებს ედვარდ შევარდნაძე.
Given my knowledge of Shevardnadze's mode of operation, notably his excellent performance in critical situations, and remembering his prudent decisions on the Georgian language and actions at the stadium, which happened back when I was a child, also his unexpected move to face the crowd in 2003, a very difficult decision to approach those vehemently opposing you. Knowing all that, I was still hoping that he would exercise sound judgment and refrain from approving the parliament's legal authority, something that could change the situation dramatically.
ეს ძალიან რადიკალურად შეცვლიდა სიტუაციას.
The situation would take a new turn. The conflict would not be over, but the tension would certainly die down.
მე რომ შემძლებოდა ისტორიის დაწერა, ვთქვათ.
If I were the one making history, I would call fresh elections and then hold a regular presidential election without any revolutionary shifts. Unfortunately, it's not always up to us.
რევოლუციური ძროების გარეშე, მაგრამ ჩვენზე არ არის დამოკიდებული სამწუხაროდ ბევრი რამ.
Everyone turned his back on Shevardnadze. Everyone from his circle, including security, police, those pretending to be by his side. When push came to shove, they just hung him out to dry. Everyone, I thought, would remain by his side. Everyone abandoned ship, except for Koba Narchimashvili, I think. Everyone else turned out to be in on it. Everyone, not just Koba, had to show some courage and take action, but everyone was implicated in this coup one way or another. And it was a coup. I have information that Kivkitadze was armed, waiting for an opportunity to start shooting. You know, in every country, however developed, there are loyal and disloyal people alike who are ready for an eventual change of government, expecting to be appointed to new positions or keep their jobs. And Georgia is no exception. And this issue of loyalty became as clear as ever to me back then. I was in shock. I asked, where are all these people? Apparently they had crossed the aisle, something very characteristic of Georgian politics. As soon as major shifts appeared on the horizon, deals were made and people switched sides. Some started playing games of their own, reaching out to various political leaders to secure some dividends for themselves, some for 1 week, others for a month, or let's say 3 months. By the way, the new government employed some of them for a while, but later got rid of them, of course, and it was a no-brainer to foresee. You shouldn't be impatient, thinking about the situation going awry one day and hoping to fish in troubled waters. This means sinking low and betraying your own people. After we saw that a quorum was present, with the New Rights Party arriving and the president about to confirm the legitimacy of the new parliament, there was one option left. We had to forestall the recognition of parliament's legitimacy if we wanted to bring our fight to a conclusion, rejecting what had been done over the years and believing that change was in order in the country. I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to justify myself here. But resignation takes place in line with the requirements of the Constitution. Consequently, I have a moral right to tell the Parliament what I have to say, no matter how hard some may try to stand in my way. I want to thank the Catholicos Patriarch of all Georgia for supporting opportunities and steps towards solving the problems currently facing Georgia. I am talking about the Catholicos Patriarch of Georgia. I hope we will enjoy support from every representative of the parliamentary factions. Despite the noise, I avail myself of this opportunity to say that you are in the parliament, not in the street. We considered the possibility of evacuating the president, and we were waiting for him to finish his speech. But the situation grew chaotic and uncontrollable, and that's when he cut off his speech and kept silent for a moment. They rushed toward the presidential rostrum. They walked really fast, as usual. Unfortunately, I wasn't going to flee. Come what may, I thought, a skirmish or a fist fight, whatever. I'm not a big boxer, but I can punch back. Let me come down from this platform and talk to him, Shevardnadze said, and started collecting the printout of his speech from the rostrum. That's when I realized that something unexpected, unforeseeable was about to happen. I tried to be careful, though there's no way you can be careful in a situation like this. I grabbed him, lifted him up, and swung him around without letting his feet touch the floor. Other guards and staff members rushed to help, and we whisked him away. All the while, I kept debating if I was doing the right thing by rushing the president away. As soon as we entered the room designated for him, we shut the door for safety considerations. And that's when chairs, bottles, and other objects intended for us hit the door from the other side. And that's when I realized that I was right in my decision. This is an attempted coup, no less. Let the Speaker of Parliament approach and lead the session. Speaker of Parliament, Nino. All of Georgia must come here. This parliament was illegitimate, and we've kicked out these lowlifes. Nino Burjanadze is on her way to lead the session. Friends, it's not working. No matter how hard they may try to twist the truth, they will always be portrayed as banderlogs, monkey people. In Georgian history, monkey people jumping on the tables in the parliament. We ask Nino Burjanadze to enter the hall. Please make way. And normal work. He went up to the platform, looked around, noticed the tea, and drank it. Your tea? Yes, my tea. He must be feeling good ever since. Was he hoping that Shevardnadze's powers would spill over him after drinking that tea? I don't know. In any case, now everyone paled in comparison to Saakashvili. We felt betrayed big time. Anyone could hurl a stick or fire a gun. The situation turned into a free-for-all. People did whatever they pleased, and nobody did anything about it. They just took off, and people were running around aimlessly, some falling down, others darting in every direction. I was on the second floor watching people running around, including Zvanya and Sulkhan. I saw it with my own eyes. This is amazing. People's will expressed in such a peaceful way, without any violence. The place reeked of fear and betrayal. People running around, overwhelmed by fear, uncertain whether or not they would keep their seats. It was so obvious. And at the time, I wasn't really knowledgeable about those things. Still, it was so obvious. And in contrast, my grandfather, the way he carried himself, without so much as flinching, it felt so good watching him, knowing that I'm his granddaughter. Banner poles were turned into batons and used to hammer on the door. Knowing that the door might give away, we evacuated the president once again, this time out of the building. I took point with a gun in my hand. The corridor was clear. To our right, people were smashing things and roughing up each other. I took point with a gun in my hand, and the hall was clear to the right, but on the other side, the crowd was pushing, arguing, and fist-fighting in full swing. There were some supporters gathered in front of the parliament, and he delivered a brief speech there, too. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. What's the solution now? Reconciliation, again and again. People from Batumi sympathized with us, but as large groups flooded the street on either side, many aggressive protesters penetrated the ranks and found themselves standing next to them. We evacuated Babu, heading from the parliament toward the subway station. At that point, we trusted no one, because we couldn't tell friend from foe anymore. After we let him outside, we found the square in front of the parliament sandwiched between buses, which prevented our armored vehicle from pulling up and letting us drive Shevardnadze to safety. One police officer who used to be Shevardnadze's close associate and senior official refused to let our motorcade through to evacuate the president. Yet all he had to do was have a few cars blocking our path moved aside. Let him stay there stranded, he said. By sheer coincidence, Levon Shashiashvili, a former member of our security team and now chief of Akhmeta police, had about 15 beefy guys with him. They physically removed the bus, blocking our way. After that, we pulled up in reverse.
I am Levon Shashiashvilma და მისმა თანამშრომლებმა ხელით გადადგეს. რის შემდეგაც უკუსვლით შემოვიყვანეთ მანქანა.
They had these peaceful rows of Kraz and Kamaz trucks for protection in front of the parliament building. From behind these trucks, they were throwing boulders, damaging many cars and injuring many people. It was a miracle that we survived and made it in one piece.
მე მომიხდა სროლა პარლამენტის მოედნის წინ, იმიტომ რომ დაახლოებით აგურის ხელა
I was forced to shoot in front of the parliament because bricks and sizable concrete pieces were being hurled at us from the crowd. Naturally, I fired warning shots into the air. In fact, we had to fire a series of warning shots to get out of there, to frighten the crowd into parting and making way. Of course, we were shooting into the air, just to scare the crowd off with the noise. It was really dangerous. Anything could have happened any second. But I wasn't afraid, not for a second, because I knew that I was safe with him. It's an inexplicable feeling, and I'm not trying to arouse a stab of pathos here. But it was such a peculiar counterpoint to things being trashed. People roaring and running around, shooting, drinking in cars. Then the crowd charged at the gate. The situation was really, really dangerous. And yet I felt no fear whatsoever.
ეს დღე იყო ძალიან მძიმე სხვათა შორის ყველასთვის და მათ შორის შემთხვევასაც და ისე მოხდა რომ აი მორონტრიალში ამ რაღაც საშინელი
It was a devastating day for everyone, including me, and I somehow wound up in this horrible crowd surge inside the Parliament building. A security guard carried me downstairs, literally in his arms. And outside, and then he and others put me and Kachem Nadze in one of the Nivas parked there, actually squeezing us into the car. Then we, including the president's car, headed towards the Kertsanisi residence. The boys yelled, "Make way, let us pass through." It was sheer horror. Finally, we left the danger zone behind, eventually arriving in Kertsanisi. The president's car drove through the open gate. Our Niva passed the gated area and pulled over somewhat in a distance. As soon as Kacha and I got out of the car, there were just us and the security guards. Though I was still frightened, an echo from the horror we had just been through. And just like that, in a matter of minutes, we found ourselves in Kertsanisi. We rushed through the gate. I ran like the wind and suddenly froze in my tracks. There's a staircase down into the house, and there was Mr. Shevardnadze, dressed in a suit, standing at the top of the stairs. It was a cold November day, but he didn't have his overcoat on. Amid that mayhem, he must have left it in the Parliament building. So there he was, standing all by himself on that cold November day. Kacha and I, impatient to get inside, were caught by surprise, seeing him standing alone at the top of the stairs, looking at the gate. Puzzled and at a loss for what to do next, we just slowed down, unable to utter a word. It was an emotionally overwhelming moment that brought a lump to my throat. He seemed pale as a ghost. Do you realize what he went through? How the president was evacuated from the Parliament building? What happened there? And just a few seconds later, he was standing there, alone with himself, standing like a rock, like a statue, and we could almost feel his loneliness. It must have been my fault to let things go the way they did. I probably spoiled and enabled them, gave them too much authority, forgave them for everything. It's a horrible thing that absolutely cannot be oversimplified. You have to understand me. I am forced. I am obligated to Georgia. Thank you. You are good girls and boys. We the girls are better though.
22-ში საღამოს უკვე მე როცა დავბრუნდი კრწანისის რეზიდენციაში, მაშინ
After Shevardnadze returned to the Kertsanisi residence on the evening of November 22nd, a particular group of people suggested that we declare a state of emergency. I worked all night on this issue, and then at 8 in the morning we met at the Kertsanisi residence. I said, here, all normative materials are prepared for a state of emergency. And then he asked me, what results do you think we will have if we vacate the chancellery and the parliament? In other words, everything was ready for shedding blood. I was commander-in-chief, in charge of the army and all its equipment. All right, we declared a state of emergency after all those infamous events. But on my way back, I thought, yes, but what will happen next? People will die, and it doesn't matter to me as president on which side. Both sides are my people. Supporters or rivals, they're all Georgians.
მე ვთხარი, ნუ ამისთვის ჩვენ სხვა საშუალება არ არსებობს, იმიტომ რომ იქ შეიარაღებული ხალხია, უნდა გამოვიყინოთ სპეცდანიშნულების.
I told him that there was no other way. There are armed people, so we must dispatch special forces. There may be casualties, like 20, 30 people on their side, and just a couple of wounded on ours at most. But that'll do the job. Then he said, there's no way I'm doing this. I thought about it all night, and I decided to lift the state of emergency. I'm lifting it.
და იცი მე მთელი ღამე ვიფიქრე ამაზე და გადავწყვიტე რომ გავაუქმო საგანგებო მდგომარეობა. და გადავთქი. იმ ღამესაც კი ჩვენ შეგვეძლო მაგალითად დაგვეწყო რეპრესიული მოქმედებები. და პრობლემა არ იყო ამაში დამერწმუნეთ.
We could take repressive measures that night easily. Of course, there were many traitors, and we were strong enough to start arresting them. But the situation would escalate, and it's a different issue what the outcomes would be, whether or not we would be able to contain the situation. Another question is how the government would operate, which is very hard to tell, but I think that things would surely go from bad to worse, to our disadvantage.
ალბათ ჩვენთვის არასასარგებლოდ განვითარდებოდა მაინც მოვლენები, მე ასე ვთვლი.
ალბათ სხვა მის ადგილას წავიდოდა უფრო სასტიკ რეპრესიებზეც წავიდოდა და
Someone in his shoes would probably go for brutal repressions and mass arrests, engaging the armed forces. But Shevardnadze, exercising his innate wisdom and prudence, knew that ultimately it would be a losing battle. He argued that it could result in what he had seen in Georgia earlier, after his return in 1992. I think that Ivanov's arrival was the decisive factor, marking the end of Shevardnadze, with no support from the West and Russia openly backing Saakashvili. I was there when Ivanov's airplane landed at dawn. Imagine Russia's foreign minister attending a protest rally. At that time, I was not among Shevardnadze's supporters. Quite the opposite. It was an ambiguous gesture on his part, something puzzling, and Mr. Shevardnadze's reasoning must have been as follows. All right. Let's suppose we meet, and you act as mediator. But why are you arriving at night? What's with the zeal? Why do you need it? It must have been about 6 or 6:30 when Igor called to tell me that a group had gathered, including himself, Igor Ivanov, Russia's ambassador to Georgia, Vladimir Chikvishvili, and our ambassador to Russia, Zurab Abashidze. There were also Saakashvili, Zhvania, and Burjanadze. He sounded excited, and here's what he told me. We have come to an agreement, and you can tell Shevardnadze that they have agreed to vacate both buildings. But that will happen if Shevardnadze and his government make a statement and admit that the elections were flawed, overturn its results, and schedule fresh elections for September. Until September, they will not push for Shevardnadze's resignation, letting Shevardnadze and his government hold these new elections in September.
ეს არის ნოემბერი, ხომ? ესე იგი 10 თვის მერე, 9-10 თვის მერე.
It was November, so they were asking for a revote in 10 months. He asked me to arrange a meeting with Shevardnadze so they could tell him all this in person. I replied, all right, he'll probably see you, but Saakashvili just recently spoke at the rally. With your permission, we will go and meet him by the Kertsanisi residence.
No,
he cut me off. They're all here with me, and that's what they want me to tell you. Yes, but he said on TV, just double check with Igor, please, I asked. Then Igor said Saakashvili promises to put off this assault until a meeting with Shevardnadze. He's here. Maybe you should talk to him directly. Then I spoke with Misha Saakashvili and said the same thing. I got back to Igor and promised him to speak to Shevardnadze. Then I called Mr. Shevardnadze, and he had the same question that I had earlier. They're on their way to capture me. What's there to discuss? Then I passed on Igor's proposal and gave his phone number to Shevardnadze. A bit later, after talking to Shevardnadze, Igor called me back saying, "We came to an agreement and he's expecting us. I'll be coming with him, and you come straight to Kertsanisi and meet me there."
გველოდებაო და შენო მე ნუღა გამომივლიო მე ამათან ერთად წამოვავ და შენ პირდაპირ იქ წამოდი წანიში და იქ შევხვდეთ ერთმანეთსო და აი ასე
That was it. I started my car and took off to Kertsanisi. On my way, I noticed a crowd in Ortachala heading toward the Kertsanisi exit. I passed them, convinced that they would stop marching, because that was exactly what we had just agreed on. The other side was late coming to Kertsanisi, and here's why. Vakhtang Retchulashvili, also on his way to Kertsanisi, bumped into this crowd, and that's when the infamous incident happened. Saakashvili, Ivan, and Igor Ivanov pulled over and rushed to pull apart the fighting sides. The situation went out of control.
ამას შეესწრენ და გააჩერეს მანქანა, გადმოვიდნენ და აი ივანოვის და ჟვანიაც განსაკუთრებით ჩაერიენ აი ამ გასაშველებლად და ნახეს რომ სიტუაცია აბსოლუტურად უმართავია. რომ
This is what happens when you encourage someone and then lose control. Multitudes headed towards Kertsanisi. Next thing you knew, it would be necessary to evacuate the president to ensure his safety.
ძალიან დაძაბული სიტუაცია იყო ჩვენთან სახლში, იმიტომ რომ ნუ გეუბნები გვეუბნებოდა რომ ევაკუაციისთვის.
You could cut the atmosphere with a knife at our home because we were told to be ready for an evacuation. With Rustavi too showing footage of Ivanov's airplane and for some reason claiming that Shevardnadze's family was aboard, ready to flee. In the meantime, we were told to turn the light off. So we sat there, all dressed up, ready to hop in cars and take some secret route to Azerbaijan. My grandmother, who had some health issues at that time, adored her husband. Yes, but she was a woman, and her first maternal instinct, on seeing us, her children and grandchildren, with our eyes wide open and not knowing what would happen next, if someone would burst in or if we would be forced to flee, her first instinct was to protect us. She called grandfather and told him over the phone, "You've been bugging me with your plans to resign for 2 years. Then why are you being so stubborn now all of a sudden? Go ahead and resign." My son Paata was working for UNESCO. So he called me. "Dad, don't make any mistakes. Don't shed blood. Because if you do, the Georgian people will anathematize you forever." That's exactly what I thought, and so did my entire family. So did Manana.
მეუთხარი რომ შეიძლებოდა ევაკუაცია მომხდარიყო მისი
I told him that, though it was impossible to evacuate him, we had to take a route different from what was suggested initially because, to my knowledge, it had been compromised. I reported to him. He gave me this look and then said categorically, "I'm not going anywhere. I will live and die in this country." He said he wouldn't, under any circumstances, leave because it would destabilize the country.
ჩემი წასვლითო რაღაცა დესტაბილიზაციის იმას არ შევქმნიო გამორიცხულიო.
რას შევესწარეთ ახლა შედვარ და ველოდებით შევარდნაძეს თან ერთად რომ ისინი ამოვლენ და შეხვედრა უნდა მოხდეს და
We were sitting there waiting for the other side to arrive to meet with Shevardnadze. There was probably an hour-long pause. In the meantime, his entourage wouldn't stop putting some serious pressure on him. Why are they coming in the first place? Based on our information, they have only one thing in mind. They want your resignation. They said it once, twice, then again. And that's when I got fed up. I said, based on what information? All you've done so far is sit around. But Shevardnadze personally spoke with them, and so did I. And they're coming with an offer.
Shevardnadze აგერ თვითონ ელაპარაკა მე პირადად ის ადამიანები მელაპარაკნე ხო მოდიან ამ წინადადებებით ეხლა როგორ მიიღებენ ამ წინადადებებს
Now it's a different story if their offer will be accepted or refused. But they kept pressuring him and provocatively pushing him to resign, much the way it was done all day. But they were following someone else's orders, right? And they were supposed to be his closest associates.
I
don't remember if the journalists caught it on camera, but a brawl broke out between our and their bodyguards as soon as they entered the Kertsinisi residence. They were behaving aggressively and wanted to go upstairs where the meeting was about to be held. And Mr. Shevardnadze interfered. Then Saakashvili left the room to tell his bodyguards to stay downstairs. It was a major confrontation.
I
There was a noisy quarrel. We were outnumbered, and Misha's bodyguards, unlike us, were armed. I tried to hold Misha back, and that's when my hand fell on the bulletproof vest of one of his guys. They were prepared in every way. By the way, I don't really remember roses anywhere. Automatic rifles and sizable crowds, on the other hand, certainly got my attention. And Ivanov tells Shevardnadze, just overturn the results, schedule fresh elections for 6 months from now, and enjoy the remaining 6 months in office. In the meantime, appoint Aslan Abashidze as prime minister. In other words, he wanted Shevardnadze to follow the Yeltsin-Putin scenario. That's why Putin wanted Shevardnadze to nominate a successor. They wanted Saakashvili as a successor. Ivanov left and, of course, reported to his boss that everything had been agreed, meaning that they were talking over the parliament and Shevardnadze would remain in office for the remainder of his term, something along these lines. But before setting out for Batumi, Shevardnadze decided to resign. I told them right away. They seemed bewildered, somewhat embarrassed even. I said, relax, boys. Don't bother. I've already decided to step down, so you're a bit too late. Then we debated over who would go first to the press downstairs. I suggested that Zvanya go first. I look at them, pale as death. You're the oldest among us, so why don't you go first? They replied. After the first meeting, Misha beat everyone to the punch when it came to answering questions. This time, it was my turn. I've never betrayed my people, and now I state that it's probably better for the president to resign, to get it over with, to end it all peacefully, without bloodshed and casualties. I know for a fact they were shocked by Shevardnadze's decision to resign. Who will serve as acting president, Mr. Shevardnadze? That's for you journalists to discuss and decide. Where are you going now? Home. We entered and Saakashvili darted out for no apparent reason. I asked him, what's going on? Where's Zvanya? Zvanya was still in the hall, facing a window. I approached him and turned him around, tears rolling down his face. What's the matter? Why are you crying? I asked him. He resigned, is that why? I said. They were in some kind of trance. And the results were equally unexpected. I will never forget how desperate they were after returning from that meeting. realizing that Shevardnadze had stepped down. It never crossed Saakashvili and Zhvanyin's minds that he would actually resign, nor did they expect or want it. All they wanted was 28% of the votes. In other words, they sought to win the elections, but what they actually got was bigger than they ever expected. The negotiations were led by Irakli Okurashvili and Avtandil Jorbenadze, representing either respective side.
I'm
sure that after they suddenly found themselves all alone, they dreaded having to face a possibly uncontrollable situation. It may sound mean, but they probably were scared of one another. At any rate, I don't know what exactly scared them, but this trance of theirs was caused by fear. President Shevardnadze has made a very commendable decision to resign due to stability considerations in the country. The president must be able to stay in the country. It is a matter of our honor, our country's honor, to enable Georgia's ex-president to live in his country, to enjoy guaranteed safety, have guaranteed living conditions, and for his family to be safe. This is our paramount task. I believe that the president took a very courageous step, in doing which he averted bloodshed in the country. And he took this step in the best interests of each and every Georgian citizen and family. I am confident that it will be duly appreciated in history.
ჩვენ არ ვიყავით მზად ხელისუფლების სრულყოფილად ხელში ასაღებად. We
were not ready to assume power in its broadest sense. We were only ready to run the parliament. Of course, the parliament would enjoy formidable influence on the executive, and once it grew stronger, on the president's decisions to some extent. But we had a full understanding that we were not ready to assume presidential, parliamentary, and other powers. There are no presidents for life to begin with. Maybe with the exception of a couple countries. No, I'm not specifying names or countries. Secondly, I have evolved into a genuine Democrat in the spirit of democracy, and I know well that one cannot remain president indefinitely. Of course, it would have been better, more democratic to do it through elections, but some people apparently jumped the gun. Dad's resignation was a huge relief for us, our family. Dad came home, and we welcomed him with enormous joy and a round of applause, even though the moment itself was quite difficult. Now everyone could unwind, including grandfather. He entered with an exhausted and yet peaceful expression on his face. He also seemed somewhat disappointed, probably. I can't be sure, though. It was not his usual expression, the kind I had never seen before.
We
were all a bundle of nerves, but we also felt, I wouldn't say happy, we were rather content with it all ending well. That Babu returned home safely and no blood was shed. Then after dinner, grandfather and I stayed alone. I have this scene on film, how he said, holding back his tears, I don't care what they say anymore, and I don't care if they celebrate my resignation. What matters is that no blood has been shed. I had this feeling that, thanks to the step I decided to take, many lives were saved, a most profound experience. It happened around midnight, the first night after resignation. We all, our whole family, went to bed. I slept until 11 in the morning. Unbelievable. Nothing of that kind had ever happened to me before.
24 ნოემბერს გადადგომის მეორე დღესვე უწმინდესი ესტუმრა
The next day after resignation, November 24th, His Holiness visited Mr. Shevardnadze. Fortunately, the relationship continued until Mr. Shevardnadze's passing.
ბატონ ედუარდის სიცოცხლის მანძილზე.
It would have been better to announce this decision in the morning. Resign now, don't hesitate. They kept nagging me. My associates, Jorbanadze and others, they never stopped poking their noses into everything. No matter what, though, they're talented people. Ivanov's plans to alter the situation here to his liking failed. The situation settled in the way Shevardnadze wanted it. In other words, under the circumstances, it was better this way for Georgia. Ivanov worked toward personal interests, but serving personal interests never worked for Shevardnadze. He said, I will not do what they want me to do. I will do what I believe is necessary for my country. When a statesman finds himself having to choose the lesser of two evils, making sure that his choice is right is what defines the statesman's, even president's, wisdom and prudence. I hope you don't suspect that someone could control Shevardnadze. Yes, he could take into account particular interests that unnerve some big players. They found it unsettling that somewhere in Georgia, a small and economically struggling, technically underdeveloped country relying solely on tourism, tangerines, wine, and tea, there was a man capable of foreseeing their next move and avoiding taking steps serving their interests.
იმიტომ რომ ამერიკას გული გაუწრილა, იმიტომ რომ თეთრი მელა იყო და რუსეთი.
That's how he broke America's heart, because he was the white fox. And Russia also saw that he could make moves it couldn't curb. After all, even though Russia enjoyed overwhelming control and even appointed every minister in his cabinet, he still succeeded in pushing forward the Baku-Ceyhan project. Now tell me, why would Russia want such a player in Georgia? Next, to prevent Aslan from grabbing power, he resigned and left someone else as his successor, namely Saakashvili, who was riding a wave at that time. But there was no time for dealing with that. All he wanted was to save Georgia from falling prey to Russia, from being devoured by Russia, but he couldn't count on the U.S. in this process.
და ამისთვის მას აღარ ქონდა ამერიკის იმედი აი ამ პროცესებში.
What can you do? Nobody's perfect. Ambassadors make mistakes. Even presidents make mistakes. Those whose money is on today's leaders in power may be right in their choice, or they may be wrong. Time will tell. In an interview given in later years, after his resignation, he says that the Rose Revolution was a product of an agreement between two parties, Russia and America. Betrayal was all around him, in higher echelons. I don't want to point a finger at anyone, but these senior officials did nothing to prevent this process, maybe even contributed to it. But Shevardnadze also went soft. And looking back, of course, it was a major disappointment at the moment. But what happened, however tragic its consequences for Georgia, and certainly for me, because I wound up behind bars, it had to happen. And Shevardnadze was right not to prevent it. He wouldn't stand in their way, precisely for the purpose of their lustration. Otherwise, people would spend their entire lives in an illusion that some bright, brilliant force was once on the rise, poised to save Georgia, but its progress was cut short. He could deploy and use troops, right? But he didn't. He wouldn't shed blood. And he left in peace.
A
new force emerged, good or bad, that's irrelevant. And he gave them the power. He transferred it to them, along with an up-and-running country, without shedding so much as a drop of blood. All the country needed at that point was a few cosmetic improvements. Otherwise, the foundation was already there.